Digital disruption, weakness or opportunity in a changing market. In this webinar, we'll be dive into how to adapt the fast-changing digital world. We will cover how to evaluate companies' readiness, operationally, financially, and culturally, and how comparing with competitors can help you to build a strong strategy. Before we begin, and for those who are joining us for the first time, let me briefly introduce the Spain U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping businesses expand into the United States by offering international business development consulting, along with events, networking opportunities, and educational programs. If you would like to learn more about our upcoming activities or explore additional webinars, please take a look on our website at www.spainuschamber.com or subscribe to our YouTube channel that is located on our website and in the YouTube channel. At the end of the session, we will have a Q&A segment. Feel free to submit your questions at any time by using the question tab that is located on the right side of your control panel. We also encourage you to send your questions even during the panelist presentation so we can organize them and address as many as possible at the end. Now, before we dive, I would like to introduce our partners for today's webinar, Cacala, and one of their team members, Javier Viromal. With over 18 years of experience leading data, strategy, and technology projects for top brands across multiple industries, Javier has consistently delivered impactful results. His work in digital transformation, business development, and team leadership truly stands out. More importantly, Javier is a strong advocate to digital culture, convinced that it is essential for driving transformative change within organizations. Thank you for joining us today, Javier. We are really excited for hear from you about your insights in digital disruption. Please go ahead and begin with your presentation, Javier.
Thank you, Yarela, and thanks for that beautiful presentation. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. As Yarela was saying, I'm Javier Viromal. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about something that is impacting every business in every industry, and this is digital disruption. Today, we're going to explore how this disruption, while being challenging, also presents incredible opportunities for those who are prepared to adapt and innovate. So my goal for today is to explore with you how companies can adapt and even lead in a constant change environment, I would say. So I hope you can take some advantage of this, and yes, let's get started. First of all, I thought I would start with this point on the shrinking lifespan of companies, right? Look at this. According to McKinsey, the average lifespan of a company on the SP 500 has gone from 61 years in 1958 to less than 18 years today. I believe this is telling us like a powerful story about the need to adapt in the face of change. Numbers are speaking here. This is pretty clear. And I would dare to say that those who fail to innovate risk becoming obsolete. This is obvious, but always needed to be reminded. And I'm sure that many of you or all of you have seen like some once dominant companies fall behind because they didn't keep up. Simply, we got plenty examples, and we keep on seeing that these things keep on happening in our days. So maybe it's time to ask ourselves some questions, and the few that we believe are the right ones to make ourselves in this changing environment. First thing, are we truly winning in the moments that matter most to our customers? Or are we part of the conversation they're having, or are we being left out? Really important one. Are we investing the right technologies, or just chasing the latest trends that we have here and there? And more, can we navigate this digital transformation alone, or do we need the right partners to guide us? And a very important one on culture. I'm sure there are going to be many questions around culture, which is sometimes a big barrier in transformation. Is our company culture ready for this change, or we're just like talking the talk, right? And of course, on operations, does our operating model really align with our purpose and vision? And is it that clear to our customers? So then the most important one, which is, if we don't do this, who will? This, to me, talks about taking ownership and embracing the change, no fear. And I really encourage everyone to ask yourself these questions, right? But before moving forward, very quickly, Yarela made a fantastic introduction, and I'm really grateful about that. But I'd like to quickly give you a quick note about me. I'm the business development director at Yacala. Yacala is the largest independent MarTech consultancy. And what we do basically is we help companies to improve their results through data and technology. That's fundamentally what we do. We focus on results and ROI through data and technology. On my side, I have developed my entire career driving business digitalization, as Yarela was saying, with a focus on technology as a growth driver. That's the common thing along all my career. I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to work for companies of different sizes and industries. I mean, big tech like Microsoft or Medias, Grupo Prisa, also in education, and a few more. I'm getting old, I'm feeling now. But the important thing here is that in all of them, the common element has been digitalization as the business, as kind of like putting digitalization at the service of the business in order to focus on result, not getting lost on pure technology. So now that you know a bit more about me, let me talk about surf to make it like more fun. This is an analogy that we like to use at Yacala because we always talk about the parallelism in terms of the changing environment and the need to be in constant movement, right? Is kind of the same, and I'll explain myself in a minute. So on one side, just like in surfing, in business, we have to understand like the different forces acting upon us, right? And again, this game of forces we experiment when surfing is very similar to what we feel when we experience big changes in the market and therefore in the demand, right? So on the one hand, we have the incoming wave, right? We see it coming like huge, majestic sometimes, and sometimes it's even like threatening, right? And then on the other side, what we have is the outgoing tide, which we do not want to escape because it is the one that provides us with the necessary momentum to keep going. So we find ourselves somehow caught, let me put it that way, in the middle of these two forces, as I was saying. And we need to deal with this, right? And what is the first wave? What is the incoming wave? Is precisely what we're talking about today. Is like digital disruption, right? That's what that's the analogy we're making. with all these changes caused by emerging technologies and business models that challenge our traditional way of operating and so on, we feel it like this big wave coming to us, right? And what about the upcoming time? It's representing the consumer expectations and the change in the consumer habits, right? We're talking about like the demand. So this leaves us again as a company in the middle of these two forces, and our challenge is to stay on our feet, enjoying the ride as possible, which many times is like the key to success. Enjoying it, not feeling fear about it, and embracing it. I always like to say that fun-generated energy is always the best one. I'm a really strong believer on this. So again, I said, company as a company, we are caught in the middle. Let me start with a big wave, with the digital disruption. Which areas of our business is this big wave going to impact? I would say, I mean, all our company, the whole company is going to be impacted, right? But we're going to look at them today in these buckets, let me say, right? The relationship model, the processes and culture, and the financial performance, of course. Let's start by looking at relationship model, right? The need of new approaches is a fact that, and we're challenging previous models, right? We can no longer rely on traditional business models that we've been working in the past, and I mean they simply don't work anymore, right? And I'm making this point on personalization. The organizations that excel at personalization not only enhance customer experiences, but also drive significantly and higher revenue than their peers. This is a fact, right? This has been proven. So it's not me saying, and this is a fact that McKinsey is stating. So we're not talking about like a competitive advantage. We're talking about like a need these days when we talk about like personalization. Our customers, and probably you've experienced that in your companies, they expect tailored interactions that reflect their preference, their needs, their behaviors, and this across all their touch points with us, right? So again, this is a necessity, it's a demand, and is where the bar is these days. So I would say that this really highlights the importance of challenging the status quo and seeking new ways to connect with customers. Innovation, data-driven decision-making, and customer-centric strategies are key to stay relevant, and in that way foster growth, foster long-term growth, right? So by embracing new models, companies can not only meet evolving demands, but also unlock new opportunities in this increasingly digital competitive world we live in, I would say. But on top of this personalization piece I was talking about, customer relationships have become more and more complex. Customers interact with brands through multiple touch points, as I was saying before, websites, social media, physical stores, customer service channels, and they're expecting sort of seamless experiences across all them, as I was saying. So integrating these interactions with our customers is essential these days. Online and offline channels must function in harmony, and the customer, let's say a customer browsing online, has to receive a consistent service when it's visiting a physical store, right? And in the same way, direct channels in the other axis, like e-commerce, and indirect channels, like let's say third-party retailers or whatever, need to complement each other in order to provide that consistent experience to customers. So this level of integration requires what we call an effective orchestration of the relationship model, right? This involves leverage technology, aligning internal processes, fostering cross-functional collaboration, again, to deliver this unified customer journey. Sorry for that. And I would say that companies that master this orchestration meet customer expectations and build a stronger loyalty, which is what we all seek. So somehow they gain a competitive edge in the digital landscape. Moving on, and again, still talking about this relationship model. The future is clear. By 2030, it is estimated that 80% of revenue growth will come from digital platforms and ecosystems. Again, McKinsey saying, this projection is highlighting a fundamental shift in how value is created and captured in the market, right? Digital platforms are becoming like sort of the backbone of business growth, and they enable companies to scale faster and reach broader audiences. And the organizations that embrace these digital networks can unlock new revenue streams and improve in operational efficiency. And that's a fact that is happening today, and it's proven. So how do we capitalize on this trend? To me, the answer is that we must position ourselves strategically, and this means investing in the right technologies, building partnerships within relevant ecosystems, and somehow rethinking our business models to be more agile and, of course, customer-centric, right? I strongly believe that companies that are now aligning their strategies with this digital evolution will be the ones to lead the market and sustain long-term growth. So in a nutshell, I mean, digital is not longer optional, it's sort of the foundation for the future, and I would say the present success, right? Let's jump now into the culture and processes piece, the cultural shift. Always very controversial because it involves humans and human behaviors. So here I would say that technology is just half of the battle. The cultural change is just as crucial, if not more. And I've experienced this myself in a few companies. This digital disruption is like it pushes us out of our comfort zones, and it challenges our old habits, right? It pushes, it encourages a mindset of experimentation, learning from mistakes, sort of growth mindset. We used to say in a company I used to work for, right? So there's a very important piece here, which is leadership, right? What's the position of our leaders in this, or ourselves as leaders in this cultural shift? We must evolve from giving orders to empowering teams to innovate and take ownership, right? As I was saying before, this is all about a lot about ownership and innovation. Companies that are embracing this approach, I believe they remain agile, they remain resilient, and they take the opportunity. So ultimately, I would say that digital disruption is both a challenge and an opportunity, as every change. It forces us to evolve, but also open doors to new ways of working, engaging with customers, and at the end of the day, driving growth. So the key is being ready to embrace the change, as I was saying before, enjoy the ride, right? Talking specifically about processes, of course, they are strongly impacted by digital disruption. So we need to go, I mean, we need to go beyond the pure tool adoption, and we need to revisit how we operate, right? When we talk about digital disruption, it's not just about technology, it's about how it changes the way we operate as a company, our organizations, our departments, our areas operate, right? So, well, we all know that processes that used to take weeks can now happen in real time through automation and data-driven tools. It's not just about adopting the technology, it's about rethinking how teams collaborate and make decisions. Again, connected with culture, as I was saying before. So companies must, I would say, shift from this very rigid old structures to a bit more flexible and responsive ways of thinking, and encouraging all employees on this innovation and experimentation thing. I mean, I like to call this thing rewiring of a company, right? Which involves culture and processes, if I may call it that way. And if we go through all this process rethinking, we will naturally end on a customer-centric mindset, which is what we're seeking, right? Digital tools now allow us to understand customer needs in real time. We all know that, but it requires this culture shift. So we always like to say that now customer experience is not just a marketing's job anymore. It's everyone's responsibility in the company, right? Alignment, as I was saying before, across all departments, product sales, customer service, that's essential. And companies that really put the customer at the center stand out in today's market. And here, let me make a quick point on data and how it impacts from this internal point of view we're looking at, right? In these processes and culture thing we're talking about. So data becomes a sort of a compass, right? That help us with our surfboard. So it's not the surfboard itself, but a really valuable help. I said it's like a compass. And in relation to culture, data-driven culture means that everyone needs to understand and use data, and leaders, again, play a key role in fostering this culture. There are many ways to push this, starting with championing or rewarding data-driven initiatives. There are many. We need to find the right one to adapt it to our legacy culture and help push this change and turn into a more data-driven culture, what we have in our company. I've been really lucky to see how this happens in some companies, and our role as leader is extremely important, as the same thing as when I was talking about like processes and culture in data adoption. Is the same. It's super important to lead this from the top. Another important thing here is data integration, because that is something that is going to encourage and is going to impact the way we work. And by that I mean that is going to push our cross-department collaboration. Sometimes it's like the perfect excuse to break down information silos that we might have in our companies, and I've seen examples of that really help. So companies that effectively harness data are better positioned to anticipate customer needs. And now I'm connecting to my first point on the relationship model, and with the tide that we will talk later about. And stay away from competitors. But here, let me make a point on data. It should bring more agility in decision making. I would state. I mean, this can be tricky. Sometimes it happens that we are slow because we are all buried in data, no insights, and that's not the goal. I mean, the past, I used to tell my team, I don't want to see any slide with only data and no insights. Please start with the insight. That's super important. And the other thing is, I would recommend everyone to start by making sure which data pieces are the ones that are going to be relevant in the different moments of the journey, right? And always keeping in mind that we are searching for growth. Again, in my experience, I would say many times we tend to get lost in data, and some external advice many times is like helping us simplify and sometimes very eye-opening in order not to get lost in this ton of data we are accessing or we are exposed to these days. So as a result of these first two, what we have is a third area where digital disruption has a really strong impact, which is financial performance, of course, which is what we look for. This improvement in financial performance can come from either the top of our P&L or the bottom, right? That is, it can be a positive impact on demand generation or revenue per user or whatever on the top side of our P&L, or it can be a cost reduction due to efficiencies in channel management or whatever other cost saving. So we need to also keep that in mind and don't lose the big picture. Sometimes also I feel we tend to focus only on, oh, let's generate more demand, whatever, while digital disruption can help us on saving money or cost or being more cost efficient, right? And of course, if we do things right, it's going to happen in both sides, right? And results will come pretty quickly. And here's a good example. Through improvements to its mobile app, Chipotle doubled its digital sales from one year to another. So clearly, results come, but I believe this is pretty obvious. But again, I would encourage everyone not to lose sight on. We do this because we want results, and that connection between business and technology adoption must be super fluent. We don't want to have another kind of silos in our companies. So far, we've been talking about like this, the big wave that is coming, right? But now let's talk a bit about like the tide that is pushing us, right? And on this again, I'm talking about like the consumers, their expectations, their habits, how are ultimately the ones who are shaping the new business landscape because these changes in the demand I'm mentioning. Let's take a look at some examples. So why do we say that the consumer drives transformation? I see this as a virtuous circle in which, thanks to technology, a new industry standard is generated, right? Which in turn gives rise to a new level of consumer expectation. Let's take an example. One day or same day delivery has become a kind of MVP for consumers. Less than that is sort of unacceptable these days. So this immediacy, which was like even undreamable, if that works in English, a few years ago, is where consumers have set the bar these days. And if we want to compete, we can't be below that, definitely, right? So again, this idea of new industry standards being generated, pushed by the demand and consumer expectations. Another clear example is this hyper customization we experience as customers. Can you imagine what the experience would look like in Netflix or Spotify without them knowing us as they know us, starting from scratch every time we log in. I mean, we have reached a level where we require these platforms to know us in order to give us a totally personalized experience. And I would dare to say efficient for us, right? So it's us, in this case, as consumers, demanding and pulling strong innovation and transformation. Another illustrative example, I would say, on how user expectations change are the new virtual assistants with which you have probably all had the opportunity to interact by now. I mean, some are more perfected, some are still work in progress, but clearly is the trend. And with them, the barrier of business hours is broken, and we assume with all naturality or naturalness, if that's English, that we have 24/7 support and no waiting time. That's what we ask for now. And again, that's turned into an MVP, and that's what we all want, and what we all expect from our companies, from our suppliers, I would say, as consumers, right? So again, demand pulling transformation and in processes and innovation. So the market is demanding and requires us to adapt. So in this way, it is important that we do not fail in the usual mistakes, right? And you have like some funny examples here. First, being unequipped. Not being equipped should be understood in a broad sense in this case, right? And not purely from a tooling point of view. As we will see, to be equipped means to have also, and as we have seen, I mean, the appropriate culture as well. So be equipped, or missing the starting point. And as we will see later, it is very, very important to understand where we are as a company, where we're standing, not as a company, but also where our industry is standing these days. So we are not early or late in starting in our starting point. And of course, lacking the right skills, very common mistake here. If we do not have the internal skills, we must seek external help. It's important to be humble enough to recognize that our inability, if it's the case, and that's the starting point to seek improvement, right? So my message here would be like to stay humble in this skills piece. So in short, the message is clear. It always was, but as always, the devil is in the details, and the right approach to transformation can change a lot from one company to another. I'm sure you come from different industries, and maybe you have questions at this point. By the way, if you have questions, please do not hesitate and send them out in the chat box, and we'll try to cover those later or offline. Happy to do so. And again, we need to spend time and effort to understand where we are at before we launch into the textbooks transformations. This is something I keep on repeating, and that's like this is not one size fit all approach that we need to take. And as I was saying, let me go back to the double approach, internal and external again. So on the one hand, it is good to make an analysis of our internal digital maturity level. And this includes an understanding of where we are in terms of technology, how we're doing in terms of innovation. Do we favor innovation? Is our culture aligned to that? Or how we are doing in terms of scalability? I mean, does my current model scale, or is it limited? And of course, an assessment on the state of talent in my organization. And this is very important. I found people really keen on learning, while I've also found people that has been very tied to the status quo and resisting to change. I encourage everyone to give opportunities to those who, even not being experts, are really keen on learning, because knowledge is a part, but the growth mindset is the key on this side. And then on the other side, we must know very well how digital disruption is affecting my industry, right? The trends and so on. The speeds are different from one industry, very different, I would say, from one industry to another. And then the impact is also at different points in the value chain, depending on the industry we're talking about. So different challenges require different solutions, even if we are always talking about digital disruption. Big wave, we don't have to surf it the same way. It depends on who we are, what surfboard we have, if we're in good shape or not, or how my physical condition is. So again, it's always the big wave coming, but as we say in Spain, sometimes it's the same, but it's different. So let's do a little assessment exercise to understand where we stand as an organization, right? So in this way, sorry, we might find ourselves as observers. And I should ask myself if I have visibility into key elements of my data and my systems, or if I truly understand the relationships with my customers, or if I'm viewing my digital transformation more as an expense or as an investment. Or I might be in a doer stage. And my question from a technology perspective now turns like more qualitative. Am I considering technology as part of my growth strategy, or am I just like going with the flow? And from an organizational standpoint, who owns the customer? Do we still have a fragmented vision, or the business impact, of course? Are we effectively measuring the return of our digital initiatives, or maybe still we are a bit mixed up? So again, looking at these two axes, we should make ourselves some questions to do this sort of little assessment I'm talking about. Or let's say we've determined that we are in a more advanced phase, the one we're calling here integrated. So at this point, we must question our technology strategy, and maybe the question is like, do we have a roadmap? Or from a process perspective, do we view our customer from a lifetime value perspective, or from a financial standpoint? Are we optimizing costs? Let's not forget here that we discussed the impact of digitalization on both top and bottom of the P&L. So we need to keep that in mind. But these questions shouldn't end here. And and never, I mean, questions when we talk about digital disruption should never end. But even in an advanced stage, which we call orchestrated, we must continue asking the right questions. Is our technology stack truly optimized? So as you see, the level of complexity in questions evolves as depending on which stage we are based on that pre-assessment we've done. Or from a customer perspective, are we really customer-centric and providing a unified experience across our channels? And or from the economic impact, have we maximized digital to generate new revenue streams or advantages? So different questions depending on different stages. I would say. So having said all this, I would say that technology is the piece that helps us and pushes the transformation, but continuous improvement and this growth mindset I keep on talking about are like the key to success. We need to combine those ones. And I would encourage everyone to work hard with your teams on this piece, because the culture of experimentation and learning from mistakes brings really, really significant progress in an organization. But for that, and again, talking about like leaders, I would encourage you to create an environment that favors this atmosphere, because again, you're going to soon see the impact it has on results. I know this might sound weird, but experimentation has an impact on your P&L. I mean, a culture of experimentation has definitely an impact on your culture. Sorry, on your P&L. And finally, some key takeaways that to me sum up the message I wanted to share with you today. So the first has to do with the initial question we asked ourselves. If we don't do it, who will? Digital disruption is a fact, and how and when to adapt it is what we need to work on. The market speaks, and we must understand its language. That's clear. Second thing, consumers are raising their level of demand, and they are redefining acceptable minimums. I would say that the MVP I was talking before: faster, more personalized, always open, and they're going to quickly turn unloyal if you're not hitting that bar, right? Because some competitor is more innovative of releases this feature, and you need to be there. So, and again, both qualitative and quantitative, I would say. And of course, for our transformation to be successful, we must align with our objectives and our investment capacity. This is the money piece. I recommend to follow up very closely so that we can be flexible and adapt in case our plan is not successful or exceeds our expectations. So is looking very closely at the impact and measuring very well the impact of the digital changes or the digital transformation or pieces of innovation we might be introducing in our companies in those three aspects I was mentioning before, right? And coming again to the idea that one size does not fit all in this case, when we talk about transformation, understanding the maturity level of our company is key. This is what I was trying to say a couple of slides ago, right? We need to look at it through the elements we have mentioned, and asking the right questions is fundamental before going crazy and catching the wave in any way, right? It's like, let's study a bit, look at ourselves for a minute, and let's look at our industry and take decisions on which speed we want to take in that adoption. And of course, it's not just about execution, right? It's more orchestration, understanding, integrating, aligning, and always with growth in mind. Never lose that, because in this changing environments, it's very easy, I would say, to get lost in the weeds and lose like the big picture. We never should lose. And this is kind of what I had for you today. Hope you find it useful. I'm a strong advocate on feedback, so your comments are going to be very, very welcome. And I believe, Yarela, that we have some time for questions, if I'm not wrong. Well, thank you very much, everyone, and happy to take those questions.
Yes, you are correct. We're gonna have now a Q&A, but I have to comment something. I really like the fact that you represent digital disruption as a way, because I believe this is the most real and close approach to understanding that companies must not only to initiate the transformation, but also continuously adapt and actually move with the changing demands and expectations that you mentioned of their customers and stay competitive. So we're gonna start with the first question. And the people is asking, what are the most common mistakes companies make when trying to capitalize on digitalization?
Well, I believe that funny slide I had was kind of showing the way I see like the three most common mistakes, right? The first one, being unequipped, not being equipped, should be understood again in the broad sense, right? Being unequipped in terms of talent, if we want, culture, technology, that's pretty common. The other one is like missing the starting point, which also, again, is super common. We've seen companies trying to surf the wave even without a surfboard, right? Which connects with unequipped, but or as the picture was showing, is like, hey, you're still on the shore, right? The wave is there. Or maybe you lose the wave, right? And the wave goes over you, and you're late. And the third one I was mentioning, like the skill thing. You need the skills. You need to make sure, and I would say the talent piece is super important. The talent piece, in terms of both knowledge and attitude. I mean, there's no way these days knowledge can be kept on our brains, right? So what we need to learn is that it's impossible to control everything, but we need to keep on learning all the time and never be afraid about the new, right? Investigate, read, subscribe to newsletters, whatever. Ask for help, of course. Talk to experts, because to keep up to date is impossible these days, and we always have this feeling of anxiety that we're not getting there. But that's the world we're living in. So it's about staying calm, asking for help when needed, keep on learning, and being practical, I would say, using the pieces of innovation that you need, not trying to add everything to your company. This is the new thing. It's we need to have this. No, let's think first, right? I hope that answers the question.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and I believe that sometimes companies rush into digitalization, and also having a clear strategy, investing in technology, and going along with the business's goals will also result as a good transition for digitalization.
Exactly.
The next question, from a ROI perspective or return of investment, how can companies measure the real impact on digital transformation on their businesses?
Mm, I would say again, I will go back to the previous analysis, right? Not saying that we need to spend too much time, but finding the right timing. It's about setting, making some changes in your probably in your scorecard, and looking how digital is growing. I come from I was working for media for a while, so maybe a good example is like you start looking at how digital press is growing and your subscribers, and the curve is going up while your paper subscribers are going down, and when they meet, and be very clear on what level of cannibalization is, or if there are new subscribers, and how you want to look at new audiences and so on. So being clear that return is not going to happen immediately. You can set up like I would say analytical P&Ls, and look at your digital activities separately. There are many tools these days to do deep analysis, and look at it. I would say it's a matter of stop for a minute and think about it and think how you want to look at it.
Yes, that's a great point. ROI in digital transformation, like you said, is not just having the result right away. It also come along with long-term benefits, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's always like what we call typically. Let me give you a little tip. Uh, you focus on what we call the long-hanging fruits, right? Or quick wins, to be more professional. Uh, so you can internally start evangelizing on transformation by showing quick results, but that's going to give you the credibility internally to ask for budget for bigger projects, right? And then start that wheel of, again, internal credibility that is going to let you keep on pushing for new projects. I mean, transformation is not a thing that you wake up one day and you say, let's transform this company. You need to select which battles, and let me call it that way, internal battles do you want to fight, in order to show that there are really benefits around it, right?
Yes, thank you so much for the answer. We have another question. Technology is evolving quickly, but people and organizations don't always keep up at the same pace. How do you recommend managing this gap effectively?
Well, as I was saying before, first thing is not to stress, right? It's impossible to know everything. But I would say, first thing, go practical. Focus on what uh, can have a practical impact in your company, or in your job. Focus on that. Try to go deep only on that. Of course, keep an eye on what is happening. That's all. That's more, I would say, personal advice, I would say, to people. But of course, the other one is ask for help. I mean, there are companies that their main thing is to keep update on this or that technology, and they're experts, and they're going to tell you what to do. And sometimes it's like perceived as an expense. It's like, oh, I'm going to pay money to have these guys telling me what to do, and it's like, no, gentlemen, this is an investment, and probably, and many times it happens, not probably, many times it happens that not taking the right decisions in the right moment uh, are going to provoke that you're late and the wave is over and you're standing there in the sea seeing how others are surfing, right? So is ask for help, surround yourself with companies that can, or third parties that can help you. And of course, I'm back to the personal advice. Uh, Set up some time in your week or in your day to read, attend to an event like this one or other ones, because that's our the jobs today are like that. You cannot just go work and leave because you're going to be out at some point. And sorry for being that tough, right? So uh, spend time and enjoy it. I mean, not from a, I would say, obligation approach, but for fun. I mean, it's like if you don't understand what you're reading, go ask, what is this about, or read more, right? That fun approach, and I know it sounds a bit like funny, I think is the key, because you're going to absorb way more information if you take it like something that you want to do, not that you have to do.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Being proactive, stay and be alert to what is going on, not just around the company, but also
Exactly.
what is happening inside. We have another question that is related to AI. AI is transforming how businesses use data, but talent acquisition and retention remains major challenges. The question is, how can companies ensure that they are leveraging AI effectively and retaining top talent?
I don't believe this is one or the other, right? I think this is like two questions in one. Leveraging AI, I would say this is in a very early stage still, because in my humble point of view, there's more. Of course, there's a lot of improvement, and we have like many AI applications these days. But don't forget that AI is not a new thing, right? AI has been existing for years, and machine learning and so on, and many companies, tech companies, have incorporated this technology, if I can call it this way, on their product. So uh, for I would go back to the previous question, is like, for leveraging AI, document yourself very well, read a lot, talk to experts, and ask for help clearly, because these days some might sell you some AI thing that you don't really need, to be very clear, right? So I would say that it's, again, becoming very practical, and measure the impact on your KPIs. First, understand which KPI is going to be impacted by the introduction of AI in A or B or C process, and then make sure that that impact on your KPIs is happening. And again, I don't think we are at a point that is this or retaining talent. I mean, the more you are innovating in AI or any other technology, and of course there are many other facts that are going to impact how attractive your company is for talent. But I would say, if you keep innovating and you have like this culture of growth mindset thing, definitely you're going to attract and retain top talent. They're going to be there. Is the two things, the culture and the top innovation, that are going to make that you keep the top talent, and you have the best people and the rock stars.
Yes, I totally agree. And there is a interesting paradox. AI can automate many tasks and optimize processes, but human skills are still essential for get real value. Companies need to find the right balance by using AI while also training their employees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's about, I mean, you train your employees, but I would say go into the details of AI and ask the right questions on uh, which problem is going to solve me, or is it going to be the solution is going to become a bigger problem? I would say that of course again it's about like learning and keeping an open mind on this. I don't want to repeat myself, but to me that's a key point.
Thank you so much, Javier. We are getting close to the end, but let me make the last question that we have in here. If a company has yet to start its digital transformation but wants to do it effectively, where should they begin?
Well, since we're going to, I think we're going to share this presentation with the audience, right? I would say go to those slides where I was showing the different stages where a company can be, right? The observer, the doer, and go through those questions. Understand where you are today, and based on that, make your decisions. I would say if you're purely observer, uh, put yourself in experts' hands. That's clear. But if you are in one of the other three, maybe you want to get advice on specifically on a piece of the transformation. But what I would say is that in any case, look at it holistically. I don't know if holistically works in English. I believe it does. But look at it in a cross area or cross department way. Don't think transformation is something that the IT guys or the development guys are going to run. Get everyone involved from the very beginning of the conversation if you want to make a good progress and make a good alignment. And if I had to choose one thing, the culture to me is the key. And I've been working in tech companies, but the people and the culture and the involvement and the growth mindset, those are the keys. But having everyone in the room, or at least represented in the room, to me is fundamental. And to finish this one, always be super humble. If you need to ask for help, go ask for help. It's impossible that these days a company has everything and knows everything.
Thank you so much, Javier. We believe that the presentation was super clear. We have the
Thank
message
you.
in our mind that asking for help is very, very important. And we have people, we have the specialists. Here you have Hakala in this opportunity, and we are very grateful for your time and your presentation today, Javier. Thank you all for your time. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out the email that you see right now on your screen to Hakala. Have for sure that they will be glad to continue the conversation with you. And just a quick reminder as well that this session has been recorded, so you can find this webinar and others on our YouTube channel. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay updated on our upcoming events. Thank you so much, and that is everything for today. Bye now.
Thank you.